Now we're on. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Window to the Soul, a podcast by Renewal by Andersen of Central Virginia and Roanoke. My name is Stephen Covert, your host for this fine afternoon and most every afternoon on the podcast. We're here with Rob Zamaro. Rob, thank you for being the first person in the warehouse studio. I had a team specifically set all this up just for the podcast.
That's awesome.
Would you believe that?
Absolutely not.
No, they've definitely been here the whole time. But we're switching it up. We usually do it in the office space, and how more to immerse the homeowner experience than put us around product.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, disclaimer, this is not finished nor product that we sell. These are just like pretty much like test dummies, right?
Yeah, so this is our awesome training wall that we once utilized when we had operations on this side of the business. We were closer.
Yeah.
So we were utilizing that.
Absolutely.
To its, yeah.
That's huge.
Awesome.
No, I like it back here. Now, Rob, for the people that don't know who you are, for the external customer, what is your job position, title, description?
Yeah, so I am the production manager. So to clear that up, so let's just think operations, right? So we have operations, and in operations, we have kind of two sides to it. We have production side, and then we have the customer logistics side. Jessie handles all of customer logistics with her awesome team, and I handle all of production with my awesome team. So with the collaboration of both departments, it makes everything go in a complete circle, and it's super awesome.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I've never heard it described like that. I didn't know Jessie and you were like in
Yeah.
unison like that.
Yes. So we co-partner everything over there, and it's so awesome because we get to bounce ideas off of each other and the things that we're doing in our daily business or week or meetings, and it's really nice to be able to be on the same page all the time.
Yeah. And what does a day in the life of Rob on the job look like?
Ooh, okay.
Rob the builder.
So we actually hit meetings first thing in the morning at 7:30. And it's actually a really great meeting because what this allows us to do is involve all of the project managers and tech measures, and we get together in the morning and review the jobs that have been sold already. So we're ensuring that nothing is missed, that the job was sold properly, that there was no change orders, and if there were, how was that being handled? So it's a really good opportunity to get in front of these jobs and correct them before we actually get out there on installation day. So that's my first meeting. So we do that every single day at 7:30. Typically it goes to about 8:30. And then after that, I meet with my team and we figure out what we need to tackle as far as priorities for the day in the way of installations, whether it's issues in service, whether it's collaboration with customer logistics, or whether it's not, it's just me going out in the field and talking to the customer.
Yeah.
Because I do love my field time outside of the office, which is nice.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is your favorite part of the job? Do you enjoy the field? Do you enjoy the office? Because you're a tradesman by trade, correct?
Correct. So coming from pure labor work into an office setting, it's been very challenging for me because I didn't really know the office life and etiquette and how to carry myself. It was very blunt, straightforward. Hey, we got to get this done today.
Yeah.
But that's not always the delivery to other people in customer logistics, right? It's like, hey, so we got this problem. So we really have to think through it rather than just me being so like, hey, this is what we're going to do instead of it sounding so demanding.
Right.
So the ladies have helped me a ton on being the better person in the office and helping coach the things that I would really need to know so I can pass down to my team because we are very much so labor mindset out in the field. And that's probably my favorite thing is being out in the field because I love being with our guys. I love seeing things being put together and really what it looks like in the end to be like, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Sales Rep, this is what you sold. Look at the end product of this. Like that's the best feeling. Not that I probably installed it, but overall, the whole company, you see that process from the very beginning to the end, and that's super satisfying.
Yeah, and especially installation, you guys play a huge role. You actually get to do it and see their faces watching from the window.
Yeah.
Did you start as did you work your way up from straight up installer, or how did you come over into this position?
So actually, I started as a service tech here.
Okay.
So I was a service tech. I was a service tech for about 2 months, and then I realized some of my skill sets can be utilized elsewhere in the way of training, getting other people up to speed. So what that really looked like for me was, hey, Rob, with your knowledge, we can train and you can lead. And my thing was like, that's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, fresh into the game. Well, even though I've had all this experience already, it really gave me the opportunity to make the service department what it is today. And that is sharing the knowledge and building everybody up and getting them to where I once was, and showing them all the resources that they have in front of them, because I didn't have any of that. I was on YouTube. I was learning from, random mentors, and
Peter McKinnon.
I failed a lot. Yes, I failed a lot. But, when I really want something, I will figure it out and I will utilize my resources to the best of my ability. And then from there, I worked myself up into a service manager. From service manager, I went into the actual full-blown training. So I was training manager after that. And so as I worked my way through all of these different processes and positions within the company, we really tried to focus on where I would best fit, and I just kept moving up, and it's been a great experience because I've been able to bring people up around me at my same capacity and moving up. So it's been super wonderful to see others grow with me.
And now, when you started as a service tech, and describe service tech briefly for me, what is that again?
Yeah, so service tech is, honestly, between service techs and installation, they are the backbone of the company. They are the ones that are going out and fixing the problems that arise. And, when those things come across, we're like, who do we look to for this kind of, experience, and, who can actually execute the solution that is presented? So we have service techs that go out there and take care of all of these issues and turn customers around and bring them back into the green if they are disgruntled about whatever the case may be. So it is a really good experience for them to go out there and turn a customer around. That is also super satisfying because we love to see our customers happy in the end.
Yeah.
If we can go out there and adjust even just a storm door, this might not even be a broken part. Just might need to be a little adjustment. We get that taken care of for them, and they're super ecstatic at the end.
When did you start? Did you tell me that? I might have forgotten. How many years have you been in the service window replacement industry?
Yeah, so I started June 4th, 2019. So you know what that means? I'm coming up on my 5-year mark, June 4th.
We need to celebrate.
Yes.
That's why I put all these. This was all for you. The decor.
So looking forward to that. What's funny is I've been already been telling people, I've been here for 5 years, but not realizing that I haven't. So I am coming up on 5 years. Loved every bit of it. But going further back, where you asked me, where did I learn most of my training, or where did it start? So door and window door training started for me in 2015. Window training started for me actually when I came here. I wasn't doing windows before. I knew nothing about them. But I had a base foundation or fundamentals of the construction industry, being that I was in the military. That was my main focus in the military, is I was a construction engineer. I was a CB. I was a BU, that was my rate. I was a builder. We have other rates within the CBs that make up a whole construction team. Ever since then, I cross-trained, I learned from everybody, and I really took all of those skills and leadership skills and brought them to the civilian world and see how they could affect that type of industry. And it's been super, super successful.
That's sweet. So you've been in the game for a while.
Yeah, almost 20 years now.
And don't you have a small business in terms of you make stuff, right?
I do.
Is it like, don't tell me. I've seen you, it's like wood engraving or like woodworking, correct?
Yeah.
When did that start?
So I got into CNC machines. Now, this sounds really horrible because I used to teach some of the programs that are involved with the CNC machines. I forget what CNC stands for.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the information later. But anyway, so I got into CNC machines, and it was self-taught. I'm using all these different CAD programs like Aspire and whatnot. And that really helped me develop a whole different skill set in my woodworking capacity already, right? So when I merged these two things, it just made the sky even more limitless of what I'm even capable of doing. And it's been awesome because when a customer is like, oh, I can buy a cutting board from anybody. Okay, but can you buy it with your name engraved on there? You know? So when these things come into play and you can personalize it that much more, you're always going to get it.
Golden.
Yeah.
So you've always had the knack to just hands-on.
Yes.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So I love tinkering around in my shop. I don't do it as much, being super busy, but that's okay. When I am, it gives me an opportunity to train my son too, because that's what he loves to do.
Yeah.
Woodworking is what he's grown up with. So it's been a great opportunity for him to learn as well.
Do you think if you could give a projection, by the time he's old enough, do you think this industry, this blue collar focus industry will be relevant or still around?
Absolutely.
You think so?
He is one, and it's funny that you bring that up because he talks about it all the time. And mind you, he's only 11. So he's like, Dad,
Just thinking,
I want to make money now. And I said, son, you're only 11.
go pick up acorns in the neighbor's lawn.
The grass still needs to be cut. So let's start there. But when you really train a child or anybody that is really interested in any type of labor work, I really like to start with everything down to the fundamentals of safety, introduction to whatever it is he's going to be doing. And I know it might not sound great or no one ever really thinks about that, but these things need to be implemented if you're going to let an 11-year-old use a mower, you know? But that same thing goes into play with anything that we do. You know, even going back to when I first joined the military, learning how to fold your underwear. Why was that so important? Well, if you didn't know how to fold your underwear, how am I going to expect you to work on an aircraft? You know? How am I going to expect you to build a home, you know, with the integrity and everything behind it? So learning the very basics is what gives that person a great mindset and expectation as to where they really need to be in life when they master their craft. You have to start with the very basics.
Yeah, the fundamentals. You can't look them over.
Absolutely. So my son is like, hey, when I'm 18, could I work at Renewal by Andersen of Central VA and Roanoke? I said, absolutely. I got to figure out what the age requirements are, but he would hit the ground running. He already knows how to install a storm door, which is phenomenal.
Wow.
With a little bit of my help. But he knows the whole process, which is awesome. So next, we're working on a door. So we're going to be buying a door soon, and we're going to install that together. So we're really looking forward to that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So did your dad pass down the desire to you, and you're passing it back down, or is it starting with the current generation of Zamaros?
So I wish I could say my father taught me all this, but he didn't teach me any of it. And that's okay. My father came from pharmaceuticals. He worked with plasma and dividing the white blood cells from red blood cells. So not really a ton of construction experience there. I learned it starting in the military. Yeah. And really just learned everything I could.
Yeah.
And took bits and pieces from everybody. Because sure, I can sit there and, like anybody, watch videos all day or watch somebody do something, but you really want to take the good and bad from it, because not everything that everybody says is correct, you know? So you really have to nitpick the things that you do learn and do your own research to figure out, is that the right way? Is everybody doing it this way, you know?
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of information in this day and age everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now before we hopped on, you mentioned that, I think you called it the labor industry, labor.
So the trade industry.
Labor and trade industry,
yeah,
right? You said it was dying.
Yes.
Well, now explain that to me.
Oh my gosh. So there is a huge decline in quality installers, and quality across the board with trades. You don't find it a lot anymore. And it's very sad that you have a lot of older generation that is not really passing a lot of this information down. And I can't even blame them, because it's also both sides. It's the younger generation that honestly doesn't want to get out there and do these very labor-intensive jobs. And if they do, it scares them, because they look at these things like, wow, I have to do all of this stuff. So that's why I say that there's a big decline in trades and people getting out there to really do all of this stuff, but with the quality behind it. Because anybody can write Miss Susie a quote and say, hey, I'm going to be installing 2 doors and maybe 1 window, right? and she might sign off on it because it's a great price. Well, you also get what you pay for. You know, I have had guys come to me and said, Rob, I've been doing this for 20 years. And me, being half their age, will have to tell them, you've been doing this wrong for 20 years. And that can hurt, but there's also a way to deliver that message and coach them. And that's what we do here. You know, so we're trying to fix that. And sure, we can't change the world, but we can start with something. And a little bit of change does go a long way within our local community.
My dad constantly, when I was growing up, would try to teach me, you know, subliminally. Oh, that's like, see that air pressure canister? Yeah. Hypothetically, you would set it up to the other one and you would twist it. And I had no interest. So I think you're right, because I think it is a mix of, and now getting older, and not super old. I mean, I'm saying older, but
sure.
Like, I want to learn those fundamentals because it's like super needed. Yeah. Like, not obviously won't have to install a door, hopefully, but just like the basics, like even as simple as changing a tire. Like, I feel like that's starting to be lost on the coming generation.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, there's no desire to teach it, but there's also no desire to learn it.
Yeah.
Because I think, I mean, speaking for me, when I was growing up, I was like, Dad, I can just look this up on YouTube later.
Yeah.
And that is not a good substitution for a hands-on,
sure,
I guess, master.
Sure.
As opposed to like, yeah, we'll tinker around, I'll look on YouTube, but you're never going to learn it. Like, there's something about hands-on, like you said, actually having someone gently lead you through it on an extended time, like you're doing with your sons. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right, because there's things that my dad has presented to me in the way of his job. He's like, you want to come with me one day? Absolutely not. I have no interest to go to your job, but I'll go hang out with you.
Yeah. That's so funny. My tire was low. This is a PSA. Never go to Wawa for their tire thing. Have you ever been to their air pressure?
No, I've never used it.
I pulled up and because it has a sensor on it. So I popped it in and it said like 6 PSI. I was like, oh, well, I got to fix it. And I've always just been like, it's always given me problems, but I thought it was a me issue.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, I hate doing this. So I plugged it up and then I was like, wait, it says 5. And it went to 4 and then 3 and then 2 and it just deflated it.
Oh,
and I was like, oh man, I obviously blame myself. I was like, I must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
So I called my wife and I was like, I don't know what to do. And then I called. Well, no, I didn't call anyone after that. I just complained and got stressed about it.
Yeah.
And then this other woman pulls up in her van because I'm taking forever because it just deflated my whole tire.
Yeah.
And she's like, can I use it? And I didn't know that it was broken. So I was like, oh, yeah, of course. Like, it's not working for me, but like you can try it. So she deflates her whole tire.
Oh,
so I walked in. I was like, hey, can you like show me how to use this? And she's like, oh, well, it's broken. I was like, oh, nice. And then so she then put the do not use sleeve on the pump afterwards. So I called my dad. And he's like, oh, come on down, son. I'll fill it up. Yeah. So he showed me how to use the tire pressure. I thankfully knew how to change the tire. But it was like just those fundamentals. And it's like relearning that is so, like, I don't ever want, like if I have a kid, I don't want to be like, oh, I don't know. It's like, take it to the car shop.
Yeah.
Because something like quick like that, like those basic fundamentals. It's the lost art.
Oh, yeah.
And it's honestly like really, really fun. I think I'm talking about this like I'm an absolute tradesman, but like there's something satisfying about changing a tire or not having someone else do it for you. Because get the grease, get the calluses.
Yeah. Because if you didn't know and you just were like, I have no idea what to do, or I have no intention to try and figure this out, then you spend money calling somebody that's just going to come to you and fill it up in 5 seconds, and you're going to be like, wow.
$50.
Yeah,
and they're going to have to tow it somewhere for another $100.
Exactly.
And now you're just out of $150 plus an evening.
Yep.
And you know, if you have a father, you could have spent time with that father.
Yeah.
But no, it's just, I think it's a crazy cool
Did you
art.
leave like a little sign on the air pump that said, this is Tom Brady's fault?
This
He's the one that deflated all of the tires.
No, it was annoying because I went in and I was like, hey, I don't think it's working. And they said, oh, it does it all the time. We forgot to put the don't use on. I was like, oh, nice. But thankfully I had a spare, but the woman that came after me did not have a spare, so she left her car
so you
there.
actually had to change your tire?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Because I deflated it, and I had to get to my dad's house somehow because he had like one of those big pressure pump things. So I got that manual wrench, and come on, Rob, give me some
awesome.
kudos.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
You went above and beyond to figure it out.
Exactly. I may have put my dad on FaceTime.
Yeah.
But see, this is an exchange of trades. He didn't know how to FaceTime until I taught him, and I didn't feel like I could comfortably change this tire without being on FaceTime.
Yeah.
See if we learn from these generations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, speaking of the internet, FaceTime, the title of this episode, how do you feel like the game of home improvement, the game of window and door replacement is ever changing? Do you see trends of change? What are some core roots of things that you feel like are changing or you're having to adapt to in this industry?
Yeah, so it is changing, and sometimes it's not good change, but I will get to where we are trying to make that good change. So change in the way of kind of going back to lack of knowledge, lack of skill, whether it's installing windows or doors or plumbing or electrical, whatever the case may be. A lot of these guys fake it till they make it. And that's not a bad thing either. But the fact that they live on that mindset and don't really have a mentor, I see this repetitive, circle of the guys that are out there just slapping stuff up and just don't care. So then I kind of like think, is it that they don't care? Is it that they're not making enough money? Is it that the customer's mean? Is it, you have to outweigh all of these things. But my thing is you have an opportunity to change all of that. And not a lot of people do because they sit there and they're comfortable with what they do every day. They don't care about making millions of dollars. They just care about going out there and making something. So it's so easy for someone with a little bit of fundamentals in the construction industry to find a job versus someone that is looking for work maybe in the IT industry, where you have to have all of these qualifications and certifications to do these things, rather than a construction laborer can just be like, oh, well, I'll go fix this for Miss Susan down the road. But you might not have the know-how to even do this, but it's an easy thing to get into. And that really hurts the professional industry. Because in the professional industry, we try and change those things from the very beginning to making sure that we don't have any bad habits, that we are training properly, that we do look at all of the pros and cons as to how things are supposed to be installed. Utilizing resources. RBA itself has got so many resources, it's overwhelming. Like, it's really shocking when someone says, I don't know what to do here. In the early stages of maybe working here. And I'm like, wow, you have no idea. Let me show you everything that we have available to be that much better and master our craft, whether you are an installer, whether you are a liaison, customer logistics, marketing, sales, whatever it is. There's so many resources to master your craft and whatever you're doing in a business. But here at RBA, we really hope to change that because we have high expectations in how we deliver installations and conversation, because we also looking at both things. Sure, I can go to Miss Susan's house and sell her something and write her a quote, but do I have the customer service backing that as well? Do I know how to talk to Miss Susan? Sometimes people don't. They got the trade, they got the skill set down, but they might not know how to communicate. And those things do not complement each other well at all, because I can just like caulking and installing, right? So you install the perfect door, but if you're a crappy caulker, you're not the door is gonna look horrible in the end. So you really have to have everything across the board to be that quality installer. And that's what we look for here. And if we see those decline, we fix them. We take the opportunity and coach the installer or service tech or whoever it is.
Miss Susan deserves that customer service.
Absolutely, every time.
Now on the flip side, say I took bits and parts of what my dad taught me. I buy a home. I try to fix something myself, not using FaceTime this time around.
Yeah.
And I botch something up or I do a bad job. On the flip side of the home improvement world, have you noticed trends with maybe people trying to fix it first or going a cheap route or going for a quick Stephen Covert didn't really learn, but he's going to try it and ruins everything? Are there trends in that nature?
Yes, we see a lot of that. And honestly, kudos to everybody that does attempt to try and fix it on their own, because it really tells me that they want to learn.
Yeah.
They want to be in the know-how. Unfortunately, that knowledge stopped somewhere along the way to where they realized, hey, we have to get a professional involved.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because what that does is it gives us the opportunity to walk them through this process, because you might not know how, but if you do call somebody, how appreciative would you be if they said, hey, Stephen, why don't you hang out with us for the day? We want you to learn everything you could possibly learn, because if you ever buy another home, you're going to know how this is done next time.
Yeah.
You could even record it if you want. I have no problems with that. So I always like to involve the customer, because their little bit of knowledge might be brought to light of, Rob, I was on that same track. I was doing this right. They just didn't finish it because they didn't believe in themselves all the way.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just didn't have all the tools to do it. And that's okay. But that's awesome, people like yourselves trying to really take it upon themselves to fix it, because not everybody does that.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to ever, when I own a home, I don't know if I could say it was just because I had initiative or I was cheap. So it could have been a little bit of both.
Sure.
Now, why? So when that person reaches that moment of, like, I'm not going to finish this, and throws the wrench down, what separates a Renewal from every other home improvement window replacement service company? Why should they call us as their first throwing the wrench down call?
Well, there's like 1,000 reasons.
Yeah. Well, just I guess like in terms of how your team approaches everything, like what can you bring to the table?
Yeah. So, talking to other people that have worked at other places, I'm not going to name names or other companies, but we really roll out the red carpet, whether it's a real red carpet. Sometimes it does happen. Or whether it's just going in there with high expectations of good energy, walking into the home and having pre-job scope meetings with the customers, asking them where we can park. Every fine detail really separates us from the rest of the industry, because when I do see these other companies in the same industry that we're in, I don't see any of that. I really don't. And I have other installers that have worked at other places that say, wow, you guys do a lot of extra things for your customers, rather than when I used to work here, it was we went in there, we did the job, and we left. We didn't have to deal with any customer service. We didn't have to deal with any paperwork. It was a slap it up and roll out. And sometimes that works for customers, but not us. We like to include our customers in everything that we do. We are a premium product, and we like to deliver that premium service. Whether it's an installer or whether it's a professional conversation that they had with you over the phone, So being able to deliver all of these different things to our customers really separates us, even down to a free 15. That's probably my most favorite thing to do, is my free 15, whether that's taking in the trash for the customer or taking it out for the customer. So that interaction really goes a long ways, and I wish I saw that customer base everywhere. As you know, even going to Dunkin' Donuts or somewhere like that, the places that have great customer service versus the ones you don't, So that's kind of where we're at right now. And as long as you have that, you're always going to win, because like Paige has told us before, we're not exactly in the window and door business. We're in the people business. So that's what we're here to do, is build those relationships and drive that relationship home so we have more in the future.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm sold.
You sold?
I think when I eventually buy a home, it's going to be really important to know that premium, pristine, something like a home is not something I'd want to cut corners on.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as the fundamentals of my father has taught me.
Yeah.
It's like you take the easy route, it's gonna break quicker. Or if you don't know how to fold your underwear, you're gonna not have underwear when you need it.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's everything, Rob. I appreciate you being here in this new setup.
Yes.
This is awesome. Appreciate you.
We're going to do it again.
We're going to do it again.
All right.
If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you share it with a friend, with a family member, put it on your social media stories, posts, whatever. Leave us a review, and thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have a wonderful day.